The Grand Hall of Europa Station sparkled like a jewel against the backdrop of space. Hundreds of alien diplomats filled the room, their varied forms creating a living rainbow of colors and shapes. At the center of it all stood the newly completed ship Paradigm, its sleek hull gleaming under the station's lights. Captain James Walker stood at attention near the podium, his dress uniform perfectly pressed. Next to him, Chief Engineer Anna Reed fidgeted with her collar, uncomfortable with all the attention. They both knew what was coming. They had faced it before. And now, announced the Galactic Council member, a tall being with metallic skin, Earth will present their latest attempt at advanced space travel. The pause before attempt was deliberate, and several alien delegates didn't bother hiding their amused clicks and whistles. Walker stepped forward, his boots clicking against the polished floor. Thank you, honored Council. Today, we present humanity's first seventh-dimensional drive system. The Paradigm represents a breakthrough in our understanding of higher-dimensional physics. The laughter started as a low rumble. It grew until it filled the entire hall. A purple-skinned delegate wiped tears from his 4 eyes. Seventh dimension. Your species barely mastered 4-dimensional travel 50 years ago. You still use chemical rockets for your planetary defense systems. Anna Reed's hands tightened into fists, but she kept her face neutral. She had helped design every circuit and component of the Paradigm's drive. She knew what it could do. Perhaps, another delegate called out, they confused their dimensions while counting. They're still learning basic mathematics after all. This brought another wave of laughter. Walker cleared his throat and continued, his voice steady. The Paradigm operates on principles discovered by Dr. Marcus Black. By accessing higher dimensions, we can achieve faster and more efficient travel than current 4-dimensional drives allow. The council member raised a metallic hand, silencing the room. Captain Walker, your species' enthusiasm is admirable. However, every advanced civilization in this room has studied dimensional physics for thousands of years. The higher dimensions are purely theoretical. They cannot be accessed or manipulated. That's where you're wrong. Anna stepped forward, unable to stay quiet any longer. We've not only proved their existence, but found a way to harness them. The Paradigm can demonstrate. Engineer Reed, the council member interrupted. Your ship hasn't even left the station. Perhaps you should focus on making it work before making such bold claims. More laughter echoed through the hall. Walker watched as several delegates turned their backs, already losing interest in Earth's presentation. Others pointed at the ship and made exaggerated gestures of confusion, entertaining their colleagues with mock attempts to count dimensions. A young aide rushed into the hall, their face pale. They hurried to the council member and whispered something urgent. The metallic being's expression shifted from amusement to concern. This session is temporarily adjourned, the council member announced abruptly. We have received reports of an incident at the galaxy's edge. All military vessels are to report to their stations immediately. As the hall erupted in confused murmurs, Walker and Reed exchanged glances. Through the station's massive windows, they could see several alien ships powering up their engines, their 4-dimensional drives creating familiar distortions in spacetime. Captain, Anna said quietly, should we prepare the Paradigm? Walker watched the chaos unfolding around them, noting how quickly the laughter had died. Run all systems checks. I have a feeling they'll need us sooner than they think. He smiled slightly. And when they do, we'll show them exactly what humanity can do. As the alien delegates rushed from the hall, the Paradigm sat silently in its dock. Its hull hummed with potential energy, its 7th-dimensional drive ready to prove that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from those everyone else underestimates. The mockery would end soon enough, though not in a way anyone in that hall could have predicted. 5 years earlier, Dr. Marcus Black sat in his small office at the Earth Space Research Center, staring at equations that covered his whiteboard from floor to ceiling. Empty coffee cups littered his desk, and his gray hair stuck out in all directions. He had been working for 3 days straight, trying to understand why his calculations kept pointing to something impossible. "It doesn't make sense," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. "They're all missing it. How are they all missing it?" The door opened, and Anna Reed walked in, carrying fresh coffee. She was just a junior engineer then, assigned to help with the theoretical modeling of Black's ideas. "Still fighting with the numbers?" she asked, setting down the cup. Marcus turned to her, his eyes bright despite his exhaustion. "Anna, look at this. Every advanced species in the galaxy uses four-dimensional travel. They fold space-time, creating shortcuts through the universe. But they're like people living in a house who only use the ground floor." He grabbed a fresh marker and drew a simple diagram. "They think the higher dimensions are just theory because they're looking for them in the wrong place. It's not about going up or down, or left or right. It's about moving through layers of reality itself." Anna studied the drawings. "But the aliens have been studying this for thousands of years. How could they miss something so fundamental?" Marcus laughed. "Because they're too advanced. They learned one way of doing things and stopped looking for alternatives. But humans, we're still new at this. We ask questions they stopped asking centuries ago." He pointed to a complex equation. "The universe doesn't have just 4 dimensions. It has 11. 7 of them are curled up so tight that most instruments can't detect them. But they're there. And they're not just theoretical. They're pathways. Roads that no one else is using." Over the next few months, Marcus and Anna worked tirelessly. They built prototype after prototype, each one failing but teaching them something new. Other scientists called them crazy. The government threatened to cut their funding. But they kept going. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Their test device, no bigger than a shoebox, disappeared from their lab for exactly 3.7 seconds. When it reappeared, the sensors showed it had traveled through a dimension that wasn't supposed to exist. Anna still remembered running down the hallway to Marcus's office, clutching the test results. "We did it," she had shouted, bursting through the door. The device actually moved through the 7th dimension. But Marcus wasn't celebrating. He sat at his desk, looking at old star charts. "Anna," he said quietly, "I've been comparing our readings to astronomical data. These higher dimensions, we're not the first ones to use them. Something else does too, something ancient." He showed her the charts. Certain stars were disappearing at the galaxy's edge, but not in any pattern that made sense in normal space. However, when mapped in 7 dimensions, a terrifying pattern emerged. "Whatever is causing this," Marcus said, "it's not using ships like we do. It exists partially in these higher dimensions, and it's getting closer." That conversation had led to the Paradigm Project. Earth's governments, finally convinced by the disappearing stars, poured resources into building a ship that could navigate these higher dimensions. They chose Anna to lead the engineering team, working alongside Marcus to turn theory into reality. Now, 5 years later, as the Paradigm sat ready in its dock at Europa Station, Anna thought back to those early days. Marcus hadn't lived to see the ship completed. The stress and work had taken their toll. But his theories had been proven right. "We did it, Marcus," she whispered, touching the ship's hull. "Now let's show them what your impossible ideas can really do." Unknown to her, at that very moment, the threat Marcus had discovered was about to make itself known to the galaxy, and humanity's primitive understanding of the universe would be the only thing standing between civilization and an unimaginable darkness. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council looked nothing like the mockery of Earth's presentation just hours before. Gone were the laughs and jokes. Instead, fear filled the grand chamber as reports came in from the outer systems. "Another star gone," reported a blue-skinned commander, his voice shaking. The Centauri Defense Fleet arrived just in time to see it happen. The star didn't explode or collapse. It simply vanished, along with 3 inhabited planets. The council member with metallic skin, who had laughed at Earth's ship earlier, now stood grave and silent, Holographic displays showed a map of the galaxy, with dozens of stars now missing from their proper places. The pattern of destruction was moving inward, system by system. "Show us the defense fleet's recording," ordered the council leader. The chamber darkened as the hologram changed to show the last moments of the lost star system. At first, everything looked normal. Then the space around the star began to ripple, like heat waves over hot pavement. The ripples weren't in normal space. They bent in impossible ways, in directions that shouldn't exist. The star's light twisted, stretched, and then simply winked out, taking its planets with it. "Our best ships can't even get close," another commander reported. "When we approach, our four-dimensional drives stop working. It's as if space itself refuses to bend for us there." Captain Walker and Anna Reed stood at the back of the chamber, watching. They had been about to leave the station when the emergency call came. Now they understood why Marcus Black's old charts had shown those missing stars. The council leader's voice cut through the panic. "These entities, whatever they are, operate beyond our understanding of physics. Our weapons pass right through them. Our shields mean nothing. We've lost contact with 15 systems in the last hour alone." Anna stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "They're using the higher dimensions." The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to her. The council member who had mocked her earlier now looked at her with desperate hope. "Explain." "The distortions you're seeing." Anna pointed to the hologram. "They're exactly what Dr. Black predicted. These beams don't just travel through space-time like your ships. They move through all the 11 dimensions at once. That's why you can't fight them. You're only seeing a small part of what they really are." "And I suppose your primitive vessel can do better?" asked one of the commanders, but this time there was no mockery in his voice. Only fear. Walker moved to stand beside Anna. "The paradigm was built to navigate the same dimensions these beings use. We might be the only ones who can even make contact with them." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded that Earth's untested ship be kept away from the crisis. Others insisted they had no choice but to try something new. The debate might have gone on for hours, but then another emergency signal lit up the holographic display. "The Void Heralds have changed course," announced a panicked aide. "They're heading directly for the Arcturus system. Population, 12 billion. The council leader raised his hands for silence. "How long until they reach Arcturus?" "At their current speed, 6 hours. The metallic council member who had laughed at Earth's presentation now turned to Walker and Anna. His voice was heavy with regret and hope. "Captain Walker, Engineer Reed, your ship. How soon can you launch?" Walker looked at Anna, who nodded firmly. "The paradigm is ready now. We just need a crew." "You'll have the best we can provide," the council leader promised. "And may whatever gods you believe in help us all if this doesn't work." As they hurried from the chamber toward their ship, Anna remembered Marcus Black's last words. "The higher dimensions aren't just roads, Anna. They're oceans, and something in those oceans is very, very hungry." Now they would find out just how right he had been. The Paradigm's bridge hummed with nervous energy as the crew prepared for launch. Captain Walker sat in the command chair, watching as both human and alien crew members worked at their stations. Next to him, Dr. Tom Wilson, their theoretical physicist, stared at readings that no other ship in the galaxy could detect. "All systems ready," Anna reported from engineering. "Seventh dimensional drive is charged and stable." Walker took a deep breath. "Remember, none of us have done this before. Not at this scale. We're about to go deeper into these higher dimensions than any ship in history." The Paradigm's engines came to life, but not with the usual roar of normal space engines. Instead, they made a sound like crystal bells, ringing in perfect harmony. Through the viewports, the crew watched as reality itself seemed to bend. "Drive engaging in 3, 2, 1. Anna's voice was steady as she activated the system that had made the entire galaxy laugh just hours ago. The ship didn't jump or fold space like other vessels. Instead, the universe around them seemed to peel away layer by layer, like pages in a book. Colors that had no names in any language flowed past the windows. Crew members gasped as they began to see more. "I can see them," Tom whispered, his eyes wide. "The higher dimensions. They're everywhere, all around us. How did we never notice them before?" Through the ship's special sensors, they could see what Marcus Black had theorized. The universe wasn't just length, width, height, and time. It was a vast ocean of layered realities, all existing in the same space, and the paradigm moved through them as easily as a fish through water. "New readings coming in," called out Lisa, their sensor operator. "I'm seeing energy patterns. They're huge, moving through all the dimensions at once." She paused, her voice shaking. "Captain, I think we're detecting the Void Heralds." Walker leaned forward. "Show us." The main screen lit up with an image that human eyes were never meant to see. Massive shapes moved through the higher dimensions, their forms changing as they passed through different layers of reality. They looked like living storms made of darkness and light, their bodies extending through all 11 dimensions at once. "They're beautiful," Tom said softly. "And terrifying." Anna's voice came over the comm. "Captain, I'm noticing something strange. The drive isn't just moving us through these dimensions. It's letting us perceive them differently. It's like we're being tuned to their frequency." As if to prove her point, crew members began reporting odd sensations. Some could suddenly see trails of energy flowing through the ship. Others reported hearing songs that seemed to come from the dimensions themselves. The paradigm wasn't just traveling through higher space, it was changing how its crew experienced reality. "There's something else," Tom said, studying his readings. "These beings, the Void Heralds, they're leaving patterns in the higher dimensions. It's not random destruction. It's communication." Walker stood up, walking to the main viewport. Through it, he could see layers of reality that no human was ever supposed to witness. The paradigm had done more than just prove Earth right. It had opened their eyes to how little they truly understood about the universe. "How long until we reach the Arcturus system?" he asked. "At our current speed through the 7th dimension. 20 minutes, Anna reported. "We're moving faster than anything in known space." Walker nodded. "Send word to the Council. Tell them we're on our way, but also tell them this isn't going to be the kind of battle they're expecting. We're seeing something here that changes everything." As the paradigm soared through dimensions that most species thought were only theory, its crew began to understand that they weren't just on a mission to save the galaxy. They were about to make first contact with beings that existed in ways they had never imagined possible. And somewhere in the higher dimensions, the Void Heralds sensed something new. A tiny ship that could see them for what they truly were. The Arcturus system came into view across multiple dimensions at once. Through the paradigm's special sensors, the crew could see the star's light bleeding through all 11 dimensions, creating a display more beautiful than any aurora they had ever witnessed. But they weren't alone. "Contact," Lisa called from her station. 3 Void Herald entities approaching the star. They're massive. Each one extends through at least 9 dimensions. Captain Walker watched as the beings came into view. In normal space, they appeared as just dark spots, holes in reality. But through the higher dimensions, their true forms became clear. They looked like living storms made of crystal and shadow, their bodies flowing through dimensions like water through a stream. "Their energy readings are off the charts," Anna reported from engineering. "They're not just destroying the stars, they're pulling them into the higher dimensions somehow, feeding on them." Tom worked frantically at his console, analyzing the patterns. "Captain, I'm seeing something in their movement patterns. It's like they're speaking, but using dimensional shifts instead of words." The closest Void Herald suddenly stopped its approach to the star. Its crystalline form twisted in ways that hurt the eyes, turning to face the paradigm. The ship's sensors screamed as waves of energy washed over them. "They've noticed us," Walker said calmly. "How's our shielding holding up?" "The dimensional barriers are stable," Anna replied. "Whatever they're doing, we can withstand it." Marcus's theories about seven-dimensional shielding were right. The Void Herald moved closer, its massive form dwarfing the Paradigm. In normal space, other ships would have seen nothing. But the Paradigm's crew watched in awe as the being examined them, its crystalline body shifting through colors that had no names. "They're scanning us," Tom reported. "Not with technology. They're actually reaching through the dimensions to feel us, I think." "Wait." His eyes widened. "Captain, I'm picking up patterns in their energy field. They're similar to brainwave patterns." "You mean they're trying to communicate?" Walker asked. Before Tom could answer, the ship shuddered. Images began flooding through everyone's minds, not through their eyes, but directly through the higher dimensions. They saw a dying universe, countless stars going cold and dark. They felt the desperation of beings so ancient they had watched galaxies born. "They're refugees," Anna whispered, understanding flowing through her. "Their universe is dying. They're not destroying our stars. They're trying to save their people." The Void Herald's form pulsed with new colors. More images filled their minds. Billions of crystalline beings, sleeping in the spaces between dimensions, waiting for enough energy to wake up and find a new home. "The star-eating," Tom said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's not malicious. They're gathering energy to save their civilization, but they don't understand they're killing ours in the process." Walker stood from his chair, facing the massive being through the viewport. "Can we show them our own images? Help them understand?" "The ship's seven-dimensional drive," Anna said suddenly. "We could modulate its field, create patterns they might understand. It won't be perfect, but—" "Do it," Walker ordered. Anna's hands flew over her controls. The Paradigm's drive began to pulse, sending waves of energy through the higher dimensions. They showed images of their own worlds, the billions of lives in the path of the Herald's harvest. The Void Herald's form froze. Its crystalline surface rippled with new patterns. Through their dimensional link, the crew felt something they never expected from such an alien being. Surprise, followed by horror. "They didn't know," Tom said softly. "They never realized our stars hosted conscious life. They thought they were just gathering abandoned energy sources." The Void Herald began to move again, but differently now. Its energy patterns changed, becoming more ordered, more deliberate. It was trying to communicate back. First contact wasn't going to be a battle after all. It was going to be a conversation, one that would change two civilizations forever. The Paradigm's bridge had become a symphony of light and sound as Tom Wilson worked to establish clearer communication with the Void Heralds. The ship's seven-dimensional drive pulsed in complex patterns, sending waves of energy through reality itself. "I think I'm starting to understand their language," Tom said, his eyes fixed on his readings. "It's not words or even images anymore. They think in pure energy patterns, flowing through all dimensions at once." Through the viewport, the crystalline form of the Void Herald twisted and shifted, responding to their signals. Two more heralds had joined the first, their massive forms creating a triangle around the Paradigm. But there was no threat in their posture now, only curiosity. "They're asking about our drive system," Anna called from engineering. "They've never seen anything like it. Most species they've encountered could only exist in 4 dimensions. They thought they were alone in their understanding of the higher realms." Walker watched as new patterns of energy flowed between the ship and the heralds. "Can we show them what we've learned about energy in the higher dimensions? Dr. Black's theories about dimensional wells." Tom nodded, his fingers dancing across his console. The drive's hum changed pitch, and streams of data flowed through the dimensional barrier. The crew watched in amazement as the herald's crystalline forms flickered with new colors, signs of surprise and excitement in their alien language. "Captain," Lisa called from her station, "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the space between dimensions. The heralds are showing us something." The main screen lit up with new data. In the spaces between the normal dimensions, Vast pools of energy swirled untapped. They were invisible to normal space, hidden in the folds of reality that most species never thought to explore. Dimensional wells, Anna breathed, just like Marcus predicted. Pockets of pure energy formed where multiple dimensions intersect. There's enough power in just one of these wells to fuel a civilization for centuries. The herald's forms pulsed with rapid patterns. Tom worked quickly to translate. They're saying they never knew these existed. They'd been harvesting stars because that's what they did in their own universe. They never thought to look between the dimensions for new energy sources. Walker stood up, an idea forming. Ask them, could they use these wells to power their revival process, to wake their sleeping people without destroying any more stars? The question flowed through the dimensional barriers. The herald's response was immediate and dramatic. Their crystalline forms blazed with colors of joy and relief. Through their connection, the crew felt waves of gratitude washing over them. They can do it, Tom announced, smiling. The dimensional wells are actually better suited to their needs than stellar energy. More stable, more efficient. They were destroying stars because they didn't know there was a better way. And we can help them access these wells, Anna added. The Paradigm's drive system. It's perfect for this. We can show them how to tap into these energy sources safely. The lead herald moved closer to the ship, its form shifting into what the crew now recognized as a gesture of respect. New images flowed into their minds. Visions of cooperation, of humans and heralds working together to unlock the secrets of the higher dimensions. Send a message to the council, Walker ordered. Tell them we've made contact. Tell them. He paused, smiling. Tell them the primitive humans just solved their crisis by showing the most advanced beings in known space a new way to power their civilization. As the message was sent, the heralds began a complex dance through the dimensions, their forms weaving patterns of light and energy that the crew somehow knew was a celebration. Humanity's impossible understanding of the higher dimensions hadn't just saved the galaxy. It had given hope to a dying civilization. And somewhere, Walker thought, Marcus Black was smiling. His theories hadn't just changed how ships could travel. They had changed how two very different species could understand each other. 1 month after the crisis, the Grand Hall of Europa Station was packed again. But this time, there was no laughter. The alien delegates sat in respectful silence as Captain Walker and his crew presented their findings. The first dimensional well tap was successfully completed yesterday, Walker announced, standing tall at the podium. The Void Heralds have already begun moving their sleeping population to safe zones, using the new energy source to revive them slowly and safely. The main screen showed images that would have been impossible to capture just weeks ago. Human engineers and crystalline heralds working together, their knowledge combining to create something new. The Paradigm's 7-dimensional drive had become the template for a whole new field of science. Thanks to Dr. Marcus Black's theories. Anna continued, we've mapped over 300 dimensional wells in our galaxy alone. There's enough energy in these wells to power every civilization in known space for millennia, without harming a single star. The council member with metallic skin, who had once mocked their primitive understanding, stood up. Engineer Reed, how many of these wells were within range of our standard sensors? None. Anna replied simply. They exist in the higher dimensions. Without 7-dimensional technology, they're completely invisible. A murmur ran through the crowd. The same species that had laughed at Earth's impossible theories now took notes frantically as Tom Wilson explained the basics of higher dimensional physics. The heralds have also shared their own knowledge with us, Tom said. Their understanding of dimensional energy flows is incredible. Combined with our technology, it's opening up possibilities we never imagined. The main screen shifted to show a new ship under construction. It looked like the Paradigm, but incorporated crystalline structures that pulsed with energy. This is the first joint project between Earth and the Heralds, Walker explained. A vessel designed to explore and map the higher dimensions safely. And who will crew this ship? asked the council leader. Both humans and heralds, Walker answered. Along with any other species willing to learn, the heralds have offered to teach us about dimensional engineering, and in return, we're helping them understand how to interact with four-dimensional life forms without causing harm. The council chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had been enemies for centuries now talked eagerly about working together on this new frontier of science. A young aide brought forward a document, which the council leader read with obvious emotion. The Galactic Council hereby formally recognizes Earth as the leading authority on higher dimensional physics and engineering. All member species are encouraged to send their best scientists to Earth for training in these new technologies. Walker smiled, thinking of how Marcus Black would have loved to see this moment. The same council that had dismissed their theories now hung on every word. Anna stepped forward. We've prepared educational programs to help other species understand the basics of seven-dimensional technology. The heralds themselves will assist in the more advanced lessons. Through the station's windows, they could see a herald floating in space, its crystalline form glowing with friendly patterns. Just weeks ago, such a sight would have caused panic. Now it represented hope and a new era of cooperation. Let this be a lesson to us all. The council leader concluded, progress doesn't always come from the most advanced civilizations. Sometimes it takes a fresh perspective, even a primitive one, to see solutions that others have overlooked. As the chamber filled with applause, Walker looked at his crew. They had done more than save the galaxy. They had changed it forever, turning fear into understanding and mockery into respect. Captain, Tom said quietly, looking at his readings, the heralds are sending a message. They say they found something else in the higher dimensions, something they think we should explore together. Walker grinned. Well, we can't let them have all the fun, can we? Tell them the paradigm is ready whenever they are. After all, he added, looking at the now respectful faces of the alien delegates, we primitive humans still have a lot of impossible things to discover. The laughter had indeed stopped, but in its place had grown something far better. Respect, understanding, and the excitement of exploring a universe that was bigger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined.